Welcome to another episode of The Undersong. You will find me here every Thursday rambling about my favourite tracks, telling you some funny stories about them. Anyway, you can go on our Instagram at The Undersong and suggest tracks as well. I will only talk about them if I like them. This is my podcast, I am the boss here. And you can also give us some feedback on what you thought of the episodes. If you want to correct me as well, sometimes I'm going to talk about bands which I'm not really very familiar with. I only like one song, so you can always go there and correct me. I don't care. I don't mind. So let's get to it. The song of the week is... Come on over, baby. Come on over. Oh, sorry. Wrong Come On Over. I left it a little bit longer than 15 seconds. Please, Royal Blood, don't give me a copyright strike. So the song this week is Coming Over by Royal Blood. And Royal Blood is a band from Brighton. It's a duo, if you've never heard of them. There's a guy who plays the bass, Mike Kerr. There's a guy in the drums. His name is Ben Thatcher, and that's about it. So it's bass and drums set up. Quite unique. And I've been listening to them for quite a long time. Actually, my undergraduate dissertation was about Royal Blood. I graduated in public relations and I wrote about how they communicated with fans on Facebook. This was back in 2015 and I applied this communication theory to it. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but basically they were very active on Facebook, even when they were already quite big in the UK at least. You'd have Ben Thatcher speaking to fans directly on that Facebook page. It was actually quite interesting. So as I said, I've been listening to them for a while. I actually interned at the management company as well, Wildlife, here in London, for about a week or two. I actually have a couple of t-shirts that were meant to go to Mike and Ben, but for some reason their manager didn't want to give it to them, so I have them. So Mike and Ben, I have your t-shirts. If you want to collect them, please send me a DM at The Undersong. Let's go to song facts then. So the song's actually quite an old Royal Blood song. So the song's been released officially 3 times. So first the band released a single called Out of the Black, and Coming Over was a B-side of that single. And then Out of the Black became an EP, a 4-track EP, and one of these tracks was Coming Over. And finally it was released in the band's self-titled debut album on the 21st of April 2014 as track number 2. So the lyrics are about the process that the singer and the songwriter Mike Kerr went through when he decided to leave the church that he had been brought up in. And actually, if you pay attention to the lyrics, there's a couple of verses that says, "There's no God and I don't really care, let's run away, get out of here." When in an interview with NME, he said, open quotes, "Running away from the church was quite a big deal at the time to my friends and family. It was a personal decision based on my experience of it and how I felt about the philosophy of it. Having grown up in that and it being all I knew and then going into the real world, that's what the song was about." In another interview to Drowned in Sound, he said that he had those lyrics for quite a long time, and he was actually, Coming Over was one of the first ideas that he took to Ben Thatcher when they met up to become a band. And the song's been around before Ben and Mike were Royal Blood, and it kind of tells the story of the band a little bit. So we're going to go into that right now. Listen to this demo first. So that's Coming Over, played as a demo with bass and drums. It was recorded in Rockfield Studios in Wales with the early formation of Royal Blood. So before Ben and Mike were Royal Blood was Mike Kerr, the same bass player, and an Aussie drummer called Matt Swan. So legend has it that at the end of 2010, Mike met Swan through a mutual friend in Brighton. They kind of got together. I think they even moved in together in Mike's hometown of Worthing. And they started writing songs together, and they formed the band with the same name, Royal Blood, and the same setup as well of bass and drums. While they spent this time writing in Worthing, they wrote Come On Over, but at the time it had a different name. It was called Leaving, and it was recorded at Rockfield Studios in Wales, which is the same studio where the album version was recorded with Ben Thatcher as well. The setup was the same. It was like bass and drums. Matt used to play drums, Mike was playing the bass and singing, but I actually found another demo of Come On Over being played with a guitar part on it. You actually realize how much Royal Blood doesn't need a guitar when you listen to one of their songs with a guitar part on it. It's just a bit, I don't know, too much. But in early 2012, the pair, Matt and Mike, moved to Australia, and then they released an EP, and they even started touring together in the country. I read as well that Come On Over, or Leaving, at the time even got some airplay at Triple J, which is like a national radio in Australia. But by the end of 2012, Mike decides to move back to the UK for whatever reason, which means it's the end of Royal Blood as we knew up until then. I don't know how the friendship between Matt and Mike ended up. I read that Matt is now a musician in his own right and he's doing his own thing, so good for him. But this part of the story is one of those that the band probably romanticized a little bit. But the story is that Ben picked up Mike from the airport as he was moving back from Australia, and then they decided to form the band there and then. In this new beginning of the Royal Blood, Mike says that it was quite hard to get gigs in Worthing at the time. In an interview to Dorset Echo, he actually mentions that Ben and Mike used to go to open mics in town and just play with an acoustic guitar and drums. And I actually came across a version of Come On Over being done acoustically. I'm gonna play for you, and I'm gonna play for you in full because it is mind-blowing. I have no idea why Royal Blood never recorded this version properly, because it's even better than the original version. It's insane. I couldn't really pick the best bit for you, so I'm just gonna play in full. Fucking enjoy it.
This is one of our own songs. It's called Leaving. This is a house, this is a home. Now when I'm feeling this alone. I've got no money, I'm sick of it. I'll twist my fate, I'll change my home. Now when I'm feeling this alone.
I've got the link to that video saved. This is a YouTube video and I've got it saved and I'm going to listen to that every day because I think it's such a good version of Coming Over. And if you want the links as well and you want to save and listen to it and all the other demos that I played in this episode, just go to our Instagram at The Undersong and I always post up the links there. Sometimes I put in the description of the episode as well, but depending on the platform you're listening to, it might not show it in an accessible way. The rest is history. The duo had quite a meteoric rise after releasing the 4-track EP Out of the Black in March 2014. Even before they released their debut album, they were touring all over the world and playing festivals all over Europe as well. After they released their debut album, the self-titled Royal Blood, in August 2014, it was deemed the fastest selling British rock debut album in 3 years in the UK. And I find that really interesting because we're talking about 2014. I did my dissertation in 2015 and it gives me a really good impression of the band that they were so big and they were still so close to the fans, speaking to them on Facebook, as I said at the beginning of the episode, and I think they still maintain that close contact with the fans. Not on Facebook anymore. I think Ben Thatcher is quite active on Twitter. His Twitter account is at Benji, BENJI Talent, Benji Talent. So yeah, tweet him there. Tweet him the episode. Send him a link to this episode if you want to. I mean, you don't have to, of course not. So that's it for this week. I'm going to leave you with Coming Over live at Tea in the Park in Scotland, 2015. Just a reminder, the links to all the demos, all the versions that I played on this episode, including Christina Aguilera's Coming Over, is on Instagram at The Undersong. Do send me DMs, feedbacks, messages, song suggestions. I look at everything that people post or comment on Instagram, and that's the best way to reach out to me. But for now, I'll leave you with Coming Over, and I will see you next week.
We'll be right back.